Zsa Zsa Gabor was an iconic celebrity. The socialite was one of the first public figures of the 20th century, famous simply for being famous. Zsa Zsa unquestionably deserved her fame as she led an incredibly interesting life. Join FactsVerse as we explore how Zsa Zsa Gabor revealed her hottest affair of them all. Zsa Zsa Gabor was born in Hungary in 1917. Her mother wanted to be an actress and projected her dreams of stardom onto the young girl. Her mother was serious in her insistence that she grow up to be a star, and she made sure her daughter was always developing some talent that could be utilized further down the line. Though Zsa Zsa eventually became a celebrity of sorts, it didn't happen the way her mother envisioned it. In addition to learning various languages and proper etiquette, Zsa Zsa's mother also made her complete in beauty pageants as she was growing up. Her greatest success in this arena came when she was named the runner-up in the Miss Hungary pageant at age 15. As she came of age, Zsa Zsa began to feel a hole in her soul that needed filling. The celebrity was married 9 times over the course of her life and entered into her first marriage at the age of 18. This was to a man named Burnham Belge, who was an official working in the Turkish government. He was twice her age. During that marriage, Zsa Zsa claimed she became romantically involved with the Turkish president of the time. He was Mustafa Kemal Ataturk. Not only did Zsa Zsa claim up until her death that she had an extramarital affair with the Turkish president, she also claimed the man was such an excellent lover he ruined her for all future men. This is perhaps why she married 9 different times. Did Zsa Zsa really have an affair with a Turkish president? Some biographers have disputed Zsa Zsa's claim. According to them, the Turkish president would have been too busy worrying about the encroaching threat of the Third Reich at the time Zsa Zsa supposedly had an affair with him. Regardless of the reason, Zsa Zsa's first marriage ended up falling apart. They divorced in 1941. Zsa Zsa Gabor traveled abroad with her sister for a time, eventually landing in the U.S. It was in America that she married her second husband, Conrad Hilton, in 1942. Soon after, she began suffering from some significant mental health issues. Conrad made sure his wife was hooked up with the cutting edge in pharmaceutical drugs. Though it has been claimed Zsa Zsa suffered from bipolar disorder, her mental health was also affected by her worries about her family in Hungary. As the horrors of World War II came closer and closer, Zsa Zsa was understandably growing concerned about their safety. In 1944, several bad things happened. First, she and Conrad's house burned down and their dog died. Second, Hungary was invaded by Nazi Germany. And Zsa Zsa's fears for her family were proven all too appropriate and all too late. Though Zsa Zsa's family ended up surviving the invasion, it proved incredibly traumatic. Zsa Zsa started having mental health problems. Her behavior grew increasingly erratic due to the stress of World War II and her abuse of medications, and this resulted in her second divorce. She filed for divorce in 1945. Though Conrad had no qualms about separating, he didn't feel it was right to leave Zsa Zsa alone with her worsening mental health. He insisted she get professional help before agreeing to the divorce, and she subsequently was committed to a sanitarium. She stayed there for 2 months. While it's inarguable that she needed help, it doesn't appear she got it. Instead, the doctors at the sanitarium went to work on her with experimental insulin shock therapy that is nowadays considered torture. She underwent her sanitarium stay and emerged from it all the worse. However, she ended up getting her divorce from Conrad Hilton in 1947. In 1946, she got pregnant and subsequently gave birth to her first child. To this day, people are still unsure whether the father was Conrad or his son, Nicky. Zsa Zsa got around and apparently wasn't afraid of hooking up with her own stepson when given the chance. After 2 failed marriages and a lot of drama, Zsa Zsa still had 7 marriages to go. Not only that, she wasn't even famous yet. Before we tell you more, be sure to give this video a like and subscribe to FactsVerse if you haven't already. Zsa Zsa finally achieved fame in the late 50s. In 1949, she married third husband George Sanders. He was an actor, and it was while married to him that Zsa Zsa became a celebrity. George had a brother, and he was a producer on a game show called Bachelor's Haven. When a contestant dropped out, Zsa Zsa's brother-in-law called her and asked her to fill in. She was hesitant at first, but eventually relented. Being a natural socialite due to her mother's strict raising, Zsa Zsa showed up to filming looking as high class as could be and took the cameras by storm. She became an overnight sensation as a result of this appearance. and the result was something unlike popular culture had seen. She was one of the first notable figures of the 20th century to become famous simply for being famous. But the fame she received during the 1950s didn't do much to make her life better. Her fame simply exacerbated the many problems that had always plagued her. Not long after becoming famous, Zsa Zsa also became involved in multiple controversies. For one thing, she loved saying things that pushed the boundaries on television. The socialite was somewhat of a comedic precursor to Joan Rivers, though at the time that kind of comedy wasn't as widely accepted. While Joan Rivers' act was predominantly parody, Zsa Zsa truly lived her routine. While married to George Sanders, Zsa Zsa became involved in another extramarital affair, this time with Dominican playboy Porfirio Rubirosa, and as a result of Zsa Zsa's celebrity status, the public became aware of the affair. Zsa Zsa remained crazy until her dying days. Zsa Zsa divorced George Sanders in 1954, though they remained friends for years afterwards. George even married her sister in the 60s. In the late 50s, she became embroiled in another controversy due to her involvement with a violent Dominican dictator. Zsa Zsa's involvement with him almost got her in legal trouble, but she claimed ignorance in front of the courts. She wasn't interested in crime, only power and wealth. She married 6 more times after divorcing George Sanders, but none of these marriages were particularly notable, with the possible exception of her last. As Zsa Zsa herself stated, she'd been ruined for all men early on in her lifetime. Whether the story of how this came to be was literally true or not, it certainly had some figurative merit. Zsa Zsa got married for her 9th and final time at age 70, and her last husband was nearly 3 decades her senior. He was a businessman named Friedrich von Anhalt. Zsa Zsa's mental health was declining more significantly than ever into her twilight years, and she was barely coherent throughout the majority of her last marriage. It's been alleged that Friedrich von Anhalt might not have taken the best care of her as she was fading into oblivion. In the late 80s, she came under scrutiny yet again when she assaulted a police officer. The celebrity figure was driving drunk and slapped the officer who pulled her over. This resulted in Zsa Zsa spending a few days in jail and being forced to do over 100 hours of community service. Events such as this led to Zsa Zsa becoming more known as an oddity than a celebrity during her final years, and she passed away in 2016. Now it's time to hear from you. What's your favorite memory of Zsa Zsa Gabor? Let us know in the comments section below. And before you go, make sure you give this video a like and subscribe to Facts First if you haven't already. Click the bell icon to stay updated on all our latest content. By the way, if you haven't joined Facts First as a member yet, be sure to look below this video and click the join button. By becoming a paid member of Facts First, you'll get access to exclusive video content that you won't find anywhere else. This includes some of our more mature content that isn't suitable for public audiences, which includes topics like Hollywood actresses who posed for Playboy and some of the steamiest moments in movie history. Plus, you can enjoy these videos completely ad-free. Our biggest fans will notice they also get badges next to their name when they leave comments on our videos.